Welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of Project Management Communication. I am Betska, the Guru Coach, together with my co-host Raj Vashisht from Delhi, India. And our guest today is Nadege Minois. She is back by popular demand because people loved the first, actually, I think we've had her back twice, and this is our third time. And Nadege was telling us. Twice again, yeah. And Nadege was telling us a very simple story, as you well know, about a young employee who I guess didn't really tell the truth because there was some information that wasn't shared between the person, and some information was hidden, if you will, but so we were having a great discussion about, well, why could that employee have hidden the information? So Nadege came back to say the project management's responsibility is to ask the right questions of why this young man hid the information. And then that discussion morphed into, well, what kind of communication system should a project manager have in order to make sure that the truth is always being told, right? That the project manager is kept in France, we say au courant, right? That you are au courant about what is happening. Yeah. So I before I ask, I want to ask you what happened to this young man, but Nadege, how were you called into this in the first place? How did you get involved with this contract in the first place?
Well, it was just this project manager just sharing this story with me,
Mm-hmm.
and telling me basically what happened, and was relatively a junior project manager, something like that had never happened, and basically was quite a bit shocked and in doubt. Also,
Right. Yeah.
already in doubt of their own qualities,
Mm-hmm.
as a project manager. And in a
Mm-hmm.
way, which is good, because understanding that in these situations, it's not on one person,
Yeah.
it's always on a kind of everybody. And so already thinking, oh, what should I have done to basically
Mm-hmm.
to avoid that, and not to be
Mm-hmm.
taken by surprise and during a meeting, and basically appearing like a project manager who is not in control of the project.
Yeah. And Raj, during the pause, his wisdom is always amazes me. But we were the importance of team culture and how communication in project management is so important to develop that team culture. Because Raj was saying that some of the companies, he's an executive recruiter, right, a research search expert, and so sometimes it really bothers him that he will find someone, through his executive search work to fit the bill in for a project management team, for example, and then that person, and Raj is very careful when he wants to select the best people for the job, right? But then sometimes these people get stuck into corrupt situations, right? Right, Raj?
Yeah.
So you were talking about, well, okay. I mean, how do you, Nadege, do you get involved in that situation for, if you've got a corrupt team culture, how do you fix it? Do you get involved with that?
Yes, because
Okay.
basically communication will be a big part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually when you have a toxic culture, it could be
Yeah.
that there's not enough communication. inappropriate communication, like bullying or some people wanting to dominate others, a project manager really micromanaging the team or something like that. So usually it's because of this communication and behaviors. So yes, definitely. And here the important team, so it saying sorry. So it can happen when you've let it basically drift into a toxic
Yeah.
culture, and that's
Yeah.
a bit more difficult to recover. But you have, I would say, an advantage, which is a kind of specificity of project management, is that it's new teams. Usually each project has a specific team or teams, and they may have worked together before, but basically they're coming together to do something new. And so each time it's like a fresh start. And so basically, really what you need to do, it's at the start, you discuss with the team, you agree with the team how you're going to communicate, how you're going to behave.
Yeah.
In project, there's a document that is a project charter, basically what you explain what the project is about and things like that. It's high
Yeah.
level, and you do the same. You have what is usually called a team charter,
Okay.
whereas this is us, we are the team, this is our shared goal, this is our shared vision, this is how we're going to work, this is how we're going to behave, this is how we're going to
Okay.
communicate. And so you put these rules together, and it's not the project manager dictating the rules. No, it's together as a team. You have to find the principles with which everybody in the team will agree. And yes, it can be difficult because if you have very diverse team, obviously they have very different way of behaving and communicating because they come from different cultures and things are different. So it may not be easy, but this is, to have really a clear understanding and have these rules and these values basically
So,
on which you're going to build your communication.
yeah, exactly. So um do you recommend that this new team, right, that the team together develops this charter and the mission, vision, values, goals, that they develop it together instead of the project manager saying this is what we're all about, right? Because
Yes,
that would squash the team spirit.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. People
Okay.
don't want a boss just being here and telling them what to do and how to do it. No, so a
Mm.
team performs much better
Mhm.
when it's a real team, and it's been shown that the high performing team, one characteristic of the high performing team is really shared communication. And you
Yeah.
realize when there's a team meeting and things like that, everybody contributes equally to the meeting. So you
Yeah.
don't have a team where
Yeah.
a few people will take over and some others are
Mm.
always quiet and never say a
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Mm. Um, so when there's, getting back to Raj's thought, when we have a toxic team culture going on, who calls you in? Is it the HR manager who would call in an expert like you to fix a problem like that, or how do you get called in? Because clearly the
Yes,
toxic
yes,
leader is
yeah.
not going to call you.
No, no, yeah, no. It's true that it's true. Usually, it will be someone in HR. Um,
Mm,
if really they have like a project or project management office or something like that, it might be
yeah.
someone in
Mhm,
in this office. Yes,
mhm.
yeah. But it's also individual project managers. who basically are not confident with their communication and realize that it could be improved, and that the project will go much smoother if they could interact much better with their stakeholders. And basically, the best way to try and improve is to begin with yourself, because you can't change other people. Basically, if they don't want to change, you can't change other people. So it's to you to understand and adapt to see what you can change to make things better.
So that would be a very responsible project manager who would say, Nadege, please help me.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that, and I'm sure Raj would love for some of his companies that, that they would put their hand up and say, we've got a challenge here, we're getting more and more toxic and maybe even corrupt. So, we need to fix it. So one of the questions I have for you is, for project managers or any leader, because you said what you do is it affects all leaders. So how can people improve their project management communication skills? And before you answer, I mean, the president of a company, the VPs, the directors, all the different levels need to have project management communication skills. Everybody needs them. They need to do the left brain stuff on creating all the boxes on, to handle this project. This is what they're going to do. But they need, without the communication skills, their project could go off the rails. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
So what do you recommend to your clients, how they can improve their project management communication skills? What do you recommend to them?
Well, usually, first of all, the first step is to really identify the gaps and where the communication can be improved, because it's not just about improving your communication skills in general. Okay, what I do is really improving the communication within the project. So of course, if you do that, you also improve your communication skills in general, but that's not the first point. So basically, we identify first the situations in which communication skills are lacking, okay? Which can be communicating with a certain type of people. Some project managers find it difficult, especially to interact with people higher up in the organization, in the project. So they will freeze when they have a steering committee with some executive people. Some project managers have more difficulties to interact with their team, because here it's a daily interaction. So it's a completely different type. It can be problems with meetings, for instance. You know that when they have to run a meeting, it doesn't go well because they don't have the proper communication skills. So first is to identify, and then to work really practically on the areas to improve
them. Right.
Yeah. And in communication, one key aspect in any kind of communication is preparation. Preparation.
Now, getting back to Raj's example, and we know, Nadege, that egos get all wrapped up in this. And sometimes project managers don't want help because they love to be in control, and because of that egotistical control aspect of them, their teams can implode.
Yeah.
So they don't even want to look at the gaps.
That's absolutely right. That if you, there's two I would say there's two things, which is paradoxical, is that usually when you ask, a lot of people will say that yes, they have difficulties to handle some stakeholders.
Right.
But at the same time, most people and most project managers will tell you they are good communicators.
Of course.
And it's, it's not, I would say it's not by, well, we usually talk about difficult stakeholders. So which
Yeah.
shows that really we put the emphasis on it's the other one. The other
Of
one
course.
is difficult, that project sponsor who wants me to deliver the project 2 months ahead of what we had agreed,
Mm-hmm.
that customer who is always adding things, that team member who is not telling things,
Mm-hmm. Right.
so we talk about that. And so there's this aspect that communication is difficult, but I'm a good communicator. So yes, it's
Mm-hmm.
difficult because a lot of them
Mm-hmm.
just think that most of the time they
A
do
good job.
things okay. Yeah,
Well, you know what we
that's
do
right.
here is we will have them do one of my favorite assessments is called the DISC, the
Yes.
Wiley, manufactured by Wiley, because I mean the method, the assessment doesn't lie, and it'll tell you if you're a good communicator or you're not,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so when we do corporate work, we almost always will do that because, and then the people go, wow, I guess I can't really see myself, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So there are
Yeah.
many tools available, and well, you know what, Nadege, we could continue talking for another hour here. You are so knowledgeable, and thank you for your stories, and thank you for your wisdom, and I'm sure everybody is going to love you again. So thank you for being here with us on Mindful Leadership Beyond Borders, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you for having me again. Thank